Yeah, brief. No. You introduce and it's okay for me. Thank you to the delegation for offering us these premises. Thank you for attending. I noticed some familiar faces. It's always an excellent opportunity to engage with you, with the professionals of information here in Ankara. You know, my duty as a rapporteur is to prepare the report of the European Parliament of Turkey as a candidate country. Okay, as a candidate country. And I always insist to many colleagues in Brussels that Turkey is a candidate country. Sometimes the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, forgets to mention Turkey, and I have to remind her kindly that Turkey is a candidate country. And being a candidate country, we have to produce, after the report of the Commission, the European Commission, we have to produce the parliamentary report. It's a more political report, less legalistic, and conveying the messages that, on behalf of my colleagues, I have to produce. To conduct this drafting, sorry? No, it has been. Yeah, to conduct this process of drafting the report, I usually do some fact-finding missions, and I try to talk to relevant interlocutors. I met yesterday some of ambassadors of the European Union.
Slightly closer.
Okay.
Interpreter, sorry.
Okay. I met yesterday some ambassadors of the European Union member states. I met the leadership of them, Tuncer Barkingham. I met Minister Simsek. I met the Vice Minister for European Affairs, Mehmet Bosai. And I had a meeting with relevant journalists and opinion makers. And I met, as always, civil society organizations regarding mainly human rights. This morning I met the leader of the CHP. I don't know, it's apparently disconnecting. I don't know if it's a lack of battery or... Yep, okay. Sorry for that. I met Özgür Özel as the leader of the CHP, and now we are having this press conference. I request for the authorities to visit 4 prominent persons imprisoned. I'm visiting tomorrow Selahattin Demirtas in Edirne, and in Silivri I'm visiting Ekrem İmamoğlu, Kavala, and Can Atalay. I would like to thank expressly the kindness of the Turkish authorities to have the meetings that we had and to facilitate this visit to these persons. I always underline that despite my usual criticism of many aspects of geopolitical life, I always thank the authorities for facilitating my work and to be open to the contacts. I think is good. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I met also Fahrettin Altun in his new capacity of Human Rights Committee. What is my impression? My impression, there is a window of opportunity in our mutual relations, European Union, Turkey, for many reasons, not only from this side, from European side. There is a real appetite for enlargement in the European Union. And there is a search for partners everywhere for many, many reasons. I don't need to insist in the current international situation and the role of the war and the role of the Trump administration, creating a lot of tremors in the international settings of the relations. But there is a real appetite on the European Union to put high in the agenda the enlargement. And this is an opportunity for every candidate country, not only for Turkey, but for the other candidate country. And we are looking for partners everywhere. And this is, when I say we, I see the European Union is looking for partners in many aspects. And this is a good moment then to re-engage. I noticed some statements from the high officials of the Turkish government mentioning this apparent new spirit. I think the process of the Turkey without terror process is creating a feeling of hope in the society, in the political environment, and this is another window of opportunity, another aspect of this window of opportunity. And the good news, the very big good news, is the end of the violence, of the political violence, because what the PKK is disarming is in this process, and that means it's a big moment of hope for the future, and everybody has to be aware that I think the country can't allow another failure as is happening in the year 15. And not having terrorism, not having domestic terrorism, the terrorist threat on Turkey is exactly the same than other parts of Europe, maybe. And happily, it could be some Islamic extremist attack in Madrid or wherever, but not having a domestic violent terrorism, I think it could be the moment to overcome a period in the life of your country in which security has dominated the landscape, and security has been the main driver of the political environment, and maybe this is another opportunity to engage in a period of reforms. If the threats diminish, it could be a new opportunity. If there is political will, everything is about having the political will to do, the country could enter in another period in which this difficult balance between security and freedom can finally bend to the side of freedoms, if there is, I insist, in the political will. But this is for the future. In the present, unhappily, there are many, many cases regarding the backsliding in democratic standards. I think there are going to be conditions to change the things. There is political will, but for the moment, what my report has to depict is the current situation. And in the current situation, as you notice in the Commission report, there is a lot of criticism on the democratic standards. Not only not improving, in my personal view, there is a deepen the backsliding on democratic standard, and the only space in which the European Commission found optimistic messages is regarding the policies of Minister Simsek, or the economic policy of the country, that has been praised, and I did the same when I met yesterday Minister Simsek. The orthodox policies, the fight against inflation are going well, and apparently the country is in a good path to achieve some economic goals. From the other side, from the democratic standard, the Commission reports depicts, and I am going to do the same, a clear entrenched backsliding in democratic standard, despite, I think there are in some ways some conditions to change. Your country has a constitution, but your constitution is only half applied, because the political power is able to strongly defend the authority of the government and the president, but is completely dismissing the other guarantees and rights that are in the same constitution. The constitution is not a menu. You can't choose one and other. You have to respect the constitution, the whole constitution, also in the part in which constitutions protect the rights and the guarantees for the people. We see in every corner of the political life double standards. Sometimes we receive the accusation of double standards in the European Union. The double standard, allow me to enter a little bit in the double standard the Turkish society has to endure, because it's happening everywhere. The attitudes of the judges and the prosecutors are completely different when they tackle an issue regarding some part of the opposition than it's regarding or addressing issues in the AKP or the government. Do you know, for example, what happened with the accusations towards the former mayor of Ankara? There is a clear stance of the prosecutors only if the mayor addressed directly an oral or unwritten order to an official is criminal responsible. But in other cases, like in Istanbul, maybe, who knows, in the future, in Ankara, this individuality of the criminal responsibility simply disappeared. This is a clear double standard. On disinformation, if disinformation is addressing issues regarding AKP, it's never prosecuted. If the disinformation is spreading rumors and meddling with the situation of the CHP, it could be differently. And these disinformation laws are being spread in every authoritarian country. You have to be aware. And the freedom of expression is being diminished with this idea that we can prosecute one journalist but not another, depending on what is the subject of the issue. The case of Fatih Altay, the YouTuber, is another expression of the double standards. Your judiciary is very creative. He has been accused not of lying in a web stream statement. Mr. Altay has been accused of physical attacks on the president. Physical attack. How the hell can you physically attack someone without a YouTube statement? And this is another clear double standards in which the protections of the authorities against criticism, and in the case of Altay, is just a historical reminding of things that happened in history. It can be in any way the physical attack, in any way. But your judges are doing this kind of creative jurisprudence only to protect the political power. Why? Because probably, if not, they are going to be sent to cars. Because other principle of democracy is the inamobility of the judges. The judges has to be reassured in their position, and it can be changed by an administrative order. This is exactly what the Council of Europe told to Turkey for many years. You have to protect the inamobility of the courts. But we see in the big decrees changing judges and prosecutors, we see that there is a selective case in which the judges, having sustained decisions not pleasant for the power, are simply sent to other parts of the country out of the issue. The way in which an insult to an official is tackling when it's the case of any offense regarding the government or AKP officials, and the way that other members of the parliament, like my friend Gergeroglu, has been attacked, and when he complained formally, nobody has been prosecuted. So, somebody said to this member of the parliament, "We are putting you in a garbage bag and we are dragging you by the streets." Apparently, this is not in any way an insult from the legal point of view. Can you imagine if everyone says the same about a minister or about the president? This is another double standard. The situation of the CHP, contrary to the situation of them, now CSP is the preferred prey of the repressive policies of the government, is another double standard. Whatever happened with them in the past has been stopped. All the cases has been stopped, and now we have cases regarding CHP from every corner, regarding the people, regarding the mayors, regarding the Congress, regarding the provincial Congress. To see Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu offering an interview to the pro-gov press is very graphic about what is the current situation. But this is another double standard. Everything related to them stopped because then it's needed politically for the future. And now the prey is CHP, because CSP won the last elections and it represents a real threat in the upcoming elections. The state of the rule of law is a complete disaster. What happened with the Constitutional Court is unbelievable. Your Constitution said clearly that the court rulings of the Constitutional Court are binding for every power of the state, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, and there are lower level courts rebelling against the decisions of the Constitutional Court and then retiring the guarantees and the rights of the people. It happened with Typhoon Karaman from Kessie. Despite court rulings of the European Court, there is a rebellion of the minor court. This is the case of Chana Talai that I'm having the opportunity to meet tomorrow. Then, sorry, when you accuse the European Union of double standards, it's good that we are taking note of that and we are revising and reviewing our double standards. But what I notice in the situation of the rule of law and the guarantees on the right in Turkey is a complete, clear, blatant double standards when the guarantees, the constitutional guarantees, but one part of the society has been suspended by the political power, but the guarantees for other part of the political spectrum is completely reassured and useful and functional. And inevitably I have to tackle these cases and this situation of double standard in my report. Now I'm ready to engage with you in these cases or whatever other you could consider useful. Thank you.
Şimdi soru cevap kısmına geçiyoruz. Tekrar mikrofon kullanımını isim hatırlatmak isterim. İsim soyisinizi ve kuruluşunuzu lütfen belirtin. Buyurun lütfen. Çok güzel.
Erozyon meselesi şimdi sizin ülkeniz İspanya'da dahil 4 ülke İsrail'in erozyon yarışmasına katılmasıyla ilgili kararı protesto edeceklerini ve katılmayacaklarını değerlendirdiler. Buna bir 4-5 tane daha Avrupa ülkesinin katılması bu karara bekleniyor. Şimdi 2021-2022 yıllarında yanlış hatırlamıyorsam Belarus mesela belli şeylerinden dolayı, uluslararası siyasetlerinden dolayı erozyon yarışmasından dışlanmıştı. Ama İsrail konusunda Avrupa'nın belli ülkelerin, mesela Almanya'nın belki diretmesiyle İsrail konusunda bu tür adımlar atmadığını görüyoruz. Burada yani iki taraflı bir politika olduğunu görüyoruz. Bu konuda da değerlendirmelerinizi rica ediyorum.
Maybe you can take another question. Başka bir soru var mı acaba? Soruları lütfen.
Can you hear me? Yes, sorry.
Now it's okay.
Hi. My name is Suvan Gümüş. I'm from Reuters. I had a question about the enlargement process. You mentioned that there was a real appetite in the EU for enlargement, but then you also noted a bunch of concerns from both you and the bloc about the state of the rule of law, human rights, and democratic standards. And you also noted the statements from Turkish officials in recent months about this renewed push for EU membership. So, with all these into consideration, do you think there's a realistic opportunity for Turkey to be part of enlargement in the coming months, years? And is the EU significantly seriously considering Turkey as a potential candidate for the EU at this stage? Thank you.
It's okay? Well, thank you, Yusuf. Sorry. Thank you, Yusuf. It's a very big news. I'm coming from Spain. I know how difficult it is to deal with terrorism and in which way the terrorism empoisoned the public life of a country. And for that reason, the news of the PKK bending and surrendering the arms is a good news that I would like to underline, because it's really a good news. Now the process has to be conducted by the Turkish authorities. I think it's a good idea. I told you and the rest of the colleagues that the idea of placing the process in the parliament, it was a good idea. For that reason, now, differently than the others, the process is more knowledgeable for the public opinion. I think that's good. Now we are having the drafts of the parties to draft a common statement on the words of the committee. The position of the European Union is to help if needed, meaning we encourage the process, for sure. We are very happy that this big thing happened, but we can't in any way to interfere in the issue. Whatever is the solution, the legal solution that you mentioned in the future about the situation of the fighters, I'm sure the European countries are trying to help the process in the way they can, because everybody is happy that this core of a conflict is apparently disappearing, and whatever are the problems to tackle are being conducted politically, and this is good news. I'm sure not only the European Union, but every European Union member is supporting the process, encouraging the process, and doing whatever is needed to help Turkey let's say, to overcome this period. I insisted a lot, and I would like to insist again. This is a process in which, in my view, the rights of the Turkish citizens with Kurdish origin has to be reassured. I'm not eager, and I don't want to enter, and this is not my role, to talk about the big Kurdish agenda, meaning other countries. My responsibility is Turkey. I always said to HDP, now I'm defending your rights as a Turkish political party. I have nothing to do with the big Kurdish agenda, meaning other Kurdish minorities in other countries, but as a part of the Turkish citizenship, as a part of the Turkish political landscape, I'm doing my best to try to be aware and to protect the rights of every party. HDP in the past, CHP now. Then what you can expect, Yusuf, and the Turkish public opinion is any kind of help coming from Europe with the best goodwill to try to confirm and to solidify this political process. On Eurovision, listen, I'm here as a rapporteur on Turkey on behalf of the European Parliament. I support the opinion of the Spanish government. That is a government from my political family, but I don't want to comment as a rapporteur on behalf of the European Parliament on other decisions. We had a very delicate moment also in the European Parliament. We finally agreed on a resolution on Gaza after the summer. This was good news because the issue is very divisive, not only among member states, but inside the European Parliament. But we managed to have a very majoritarian resolution on Gaza, and this is the official position of the European Parliament. Of course, the European Parliament didn't tackle the issue of Eurovision. Then it's not about double standards. The European Union, I think, has not an opinion on the participation or not. This is a network of public televisions, and it's not double standards. It depends. There are countries not willing to participate, very respectable, and there are countries deciding to participate. This is a political decision of every sovereign member state, and it doesn't represent but the diversity of the political positions of the member states regarding the conflict. On the theme, yes, there is appetite. I insist, Turkey is a candidate country. We know for sure what Turkey has to do to resume the accession process. My motto, some of you are aware, is what we can't accept is the rationale of the military power, the security needs are opening the gates of the membership. Two complete different settings, two complete different rules. Accession process is normative. Accession process has to do with the Copenhagen criteria. Accession process, it can be bargained. For Turkey and for Ukraine and for Montenegro, it's exactly the same setting, the same way of acting, and everybody knows what is needed to advance in the accession process. First, political will, and then to do the things needed to create the environment for the reopening of the things. The other thing is partnership. Membership is about democracy. Partnership is about whatever could be useful for both parts. And what I notice sometimes, the good willing of some European interlocutors regarding security and defense and other issues, the advance in the visa, the reshuffle of the custom unions, the resuming of the high-level talks, this is part of the partnership. And we don't have particular problems in the partnership. We are dealing with every neighbor being candidate or not, and we want to have the closer relation with Turkey for many reasons. What we can accept is that creating a good environment for the partnership means immediately a kind of gain in the accession process. And then my role is to repeat again and again, accession process is about democratic standards. The political will is needed, and don't try to bargain on the accession process using other rules, other games, other instruments that Turkey can be. I think there is a good moment for the partnership. You notice, and your media talk about that, and there are a lot of statements on having Turkey, for example, in our defense framework. There are obstacles. You have to be aware of the obstacles, but this has not a say regarding accession process. And for that reason, being the core of the Parliament report, the situation of the accession process and the progress of the lack of progress regarding the accession process, inevitably you have to tackle with the issues regarding human rights and freedom and rule of law. Inevitably, this is part of my duty. For the rest of the relation, we are open to, in a more transactional way. Sometimes this transactional expression is negative. It's not to me. But we can deal with Turkey in many other aspects of the relation of our partnership, and this is the spirit I notice here and there in Europe. Turkey is a member of the Council of Europe. Turkey is a proud member founding member of the Council of Europe. It was one of the countries that used consistently in the first period of the court this European Court of Human Rights. What I don't understand is why the authorities are not always bragging about the good health of the rule of law in Turkey, are not complying with the court rulings. Even because I think it's easy to explain to the public opinion that even if the authorities, they don't want or they prefer to have the Mirtas, because it's the Mirtas and any other having these court rulings, I don't know, they prefer to have, they are very absolutely dangerous people. You lost your case in a tribunal in which you are part. You lost your case. It happened. Then you have to comply, and the situation now is Turkey is accumulating cases in the European Court of Human Rights. They are going to have a lot of cases regarding BILOG and other issues, and Turkey is becoming a kind of rebellious member of the Council of Europe. The bodies of the Council of Europe, they open a procedure regarding the lack of compliance of Turkey. I think the seriousness, the image of the country is not only about drones, it's also about your compliance with your commitments. Nobody obliged Turkey to be a member of the Council of Europe. You decided to be a member. You decided to use these tools. You were the state was part of the cases. I attended at least one hearing in which the Turkish government has an excellent lawyer, but you lost your cases. Then you have to comply. There is no other way. The same with the Constitutional Court. It's the only way to pass the message you understood that the rule of law is not selective. It's not only when you have to, when you win in the European Court of Human Rights, you are very happy and you immediately comply. But it's very difficult to understand, being Turkey a very important country from every point of view, you are appearing lagging behind and appearing in the index of the commitments with democracy and rule of law beside countries with a very poor record in that kind. I hope that this probably new period of more insistence in reforms is driving to a change of stance. But this is the first thing. If you want to send a message to the European Union about we are ready to resume the accession process, we are ready to resume the reforms, we are ready, the first thing is to comply with the court rulings in the cases you were part and you lost. It's the ABC of democracy. It's that way for every citizen of Turkey. When a Turkish citizen has a case, whatever is the case, and heritage, and his Turkish citizen lost the case, this citizen has to comply. It's exactly the same for the state when the state is part of this judicial system, including the European Court of Human Rights. This is my message. It could be an excellent signal for Europe if you finally comply with every single court rulings of the European Court of Human Rights. This is a proof of political will. Dragging the feet is only damaging the image of seriousness of the country.
News Agency, you have mentioned some of your contacts. During your meeting with Turkish authorities, what message did you receive about the rule of law, democracy, and the situation about human rights?
Yes, one of the rationale that I had to deal in the past is, one of the rationale that I receive generally from the authorities of the country is, okay, we understand your concerns, we understand the concerns of the European Union regarding rule of law, but we have been subject to a multiple security threats, and for that reason we have to deal with a coup attempt, and we have to deal with very painful things, and this has been a little bit the alibi to diminish the scope of the guarantees and human rights. And for that reason, what I do is to use this argument in the other way, meaning because you don't have the same level of security threats internally, there is the right moment to come back to the reforms. What I always deny is this idea that the European Turkey as a country lost a little bit the momentum and lost the appetite to approach the European Union because there was a lack of incentives. And I say always to my interlocutors, we could have incentives to improve the phytosanitary situation, but we can have an incentive to become a democracy. This is your decision as society. What is your model of society? Is Russia or is the Western democratic world? You have to decide, your authorities have to decide, and then we can help the country to reach the level in which he could be admitted as a member of the club of democracies. Because European Union is a club of democracies. It's not a club of neighbors. We have neighbors decided not to be members, and very respectful, and there are others trying, and there are others quitting. But the conditions to enter are related to the Copenhagen criteria, and for that reason, what I always convey to my interlocutors is these ideas. For sure, some of the interlocutors, not the interlocutor, but the environment is denying the fact that there are double standards, meaning the municipality of Istanbul is a cave of robbers. This is not criminal law. Criminal law is always individual. What is the individual responsibility of every individual person? There are no collective guilt. And for that reason, what is to be applied to the former mayor of Ankara has to be applied to the current mayor of Istanbul. Individual responsibility and not collective guilty. Not to mention, and this is another thing you have to reflect on, not to mention the means and the way in which Ekrem Imamoglu was detained, with dozens of police cars, with sirens, with noise, as if a very well-known mayor of a 17 million inhabitant city is not people who could be reached by mail or by letter or being summoned through a lawyer to attend a court. That means, in the way in which the things were made, is in itself a political message, meaning you are going to be depicted as a very dangerous person. And for that reason, we are sending dozens of cars overnight, always overnight, instead of sending a mail and saying, Mr. Mayor, you have to attend a date in this court for this reason. The problem that I see is you are sometimes, the Turkish citizens, the media, you, the journalists, you are so close to the things that you don't have the distance to measure the enormity of the damaging of the rule of law situation in your country. Nobody talks about the ways. Nobody discuss the fact that instead of sending a summoning letter to someone, you use the impression overnight using dozens of cars and dozens of members of the enforcement law bodies to detain a very well-known person. It was not a kidnapper taking some kids with a rifle. It was the mayor of Istanbul. But I'm afraid sometimes you are so close to the things that not having the distance that we have, probably you are missing the enormous damage on the rule of law environment in your country.
Sanırım son 15 dakikaya girdik ama belki iki sorunun daha alabiliriz gibi çok optimist yaklaşıyorum belki ama lütfen isim sayısını kullanabilirsiniz.
Örgütün Can NTV bir dizi kişiyle cezaevlerindeki görüşmeyi talep ettiğimizi söylediniz. Fatih Altaylı'ya da değindiniz. Fatih Altaylı'yla görüşme talebinde bulundunuz mu?
No, we didn't, because when we convey the request, the case of Fatih Altay didn't want a court ruling, but I'm having a telephone conversation with his wife. Because she's not in Istanbul. My first idea is to meet her, but she's not available. Then we're having a conversation. But the case of Fatih Altay is a blatant explanation of the complete lack of rule of law. Does anybody any explanation in which way a statement in a social media could be a physical attack on someone? But you know what that means. Now everybody writing a piece, like yourself, everybody doing a statement in your social media could be considered criminal liable for physically attacking some officials. This is not only about Fatih. This is about every one of you, every one of us, every one of the citizens of the Republic that could be prosecuted for physical attack if they do a tweet.
Just one final question for me. Next year, Cyprus will take over the term presidency of the EU, and we know that there's an election on the Turkish side of the Cyprus island. Do you anticipate any progress under the new Turkish Cypriot leadership in terms of the Cyprus negotiations? And how do you think Cyprus's bloc presidency will affect ties with Turkey? Thank you.
I'm taking only part of your question because I have some constraints I'm not a rapporteur on Cyprus, okay? But there are, of course, there are issues that are related to Turkey. First, I think what President Erdogan did was very clever, very wise, is to welcome the new president of the Turkish Northern Community of Cyprus. I think it's a good starting, and I would like to underline that it was a good starting. On the other side, we are encouraging any process to restart the negotiations on the issue under the framework of the United Nations. Always has been the position of the European Union, and I think it's good to come back to this idea. We know for sure the position of the Turkish authorities is different, but we hope that in the next future we can resume the negotiations in another spirit. For the rest, I prefer not to enter because it's not my duty. But I would like to express my content for the reaction of President Erdogan, and I think it's another opportunity to appease a little bit the political environment, not only in Turkey but in the area.
Bir son soruyu alabiliriz. Sonra sanırım yok. O zaman toplantıyı burada bitirebiliriz sanıyorum.
Thank you all the best, and all the best for your companies, for your media, and for yourself personally.
Sayın Nacho Sanchez Amora ve sizlere tüm mensuplarına